Well, hello. Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to be doing a quick little read through of the Nicolas Maduro indictment. And we shouldn't be here too long. I do plan on hopping back on later so that we can start going through more of the unsealed documents in the Koberger case. But for now, this live stream is going to be a read through of this indictment. Good morning, beautiful Meg. Hi, honey. I did an audio check before I came on. I did multiple audio checks before I came on. So hopefully audio is good. Hopefully we shouldn't have any issues. B is for Becca. Good morning. William Tardy, good morning. Meg, as always, thank you, honey, for being here. You're amazing. Yeah, so hopefully, friends, audio is going to hold up. It's only 25 pages. And if you're not new here, you know I can blow through 25 pages pretty quick. So we should be able to do this pretty quickly today. I'm going to try not to take too many breaks. I want to do a read through. I'm sure there's going to be snark if I read something that makes me want to say something snarky. So, William Tardy, hello, good morning. I've got my coffee. I hope you've got yours. Hope everybody's having a great Happy New Year. And so, yeah, I did link this indictment in the description of the video as well. So, for anybody who wants to follow along, it is there for you. Frosty Phantom, hello. So good to see you. Feel like I haven't seen you around in a while. So, yes, I believe Meg right now is your only mod. Be very kind to her. Make sure you give her lots of love. Stay respectful in chat, please. My chat's wide open, Meg. So, unfortunately, darling, you may have your work cut out for you today, but seriously, don't worry about it. Like, I'm reading the Maduro indictment, so get ready for the, ree. How dare you arrest my narco terrorist? Um, that's probably going to happen. Just saying. Get ready for the reeing, honey. And it's okay. Just ignore them. I don't care. I'm here to read the indictment. And there's going to be people who are probably mad about me reading this indictment, and I don't care, right? This isn't a political thing. I'm just reading this motherfucker's indictment. So let's get it cracking. Brooms up, friends. Meg, as always, thank you, darling. Okay. So this was, I guess, initially a sealed superseding indictment. It has been released out of the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. It's the United States of America versus Nicolas Maduro Moros, Diosdado Cabello Rondon, Ramon Rodriguez Chachin, Celia Adelia Flores de Maduro, Nicolas Ernesto Maduro Guerra, aka Nicolasito, aka the Prince, and Hector Rustenford Guerrero Flores. Rustenford, is that a Venezuelan name? Why does that feel like what last name is Rustenford? I feel like that's like German or something. Rustenford, aka Nino Guerrero. These are all of your named defendants. So, as you can see here, it's like not just Maduro and his wife. And yes, I'm pronouncing these names in the most gringa way possible on purpose. I hope everybody understands that. So I'm straight gringa today. These are the grand jury charges. This is your introduction here. So before we get into the introduction, I just want to quickly say thank you to everybody coming in. You can thumbs it up, thumbs it down, follow your heart, not your frown. I am someone, don't listen to me, right? I don't know shit. I'm just some crazy witch cackling bitch on the internet who likes to read court docs and indictments, and I point and laugh and witch cackle and ride my broom. So don't take anything too seriously here, friends. Basically, about 99% of it, I'm just a sarcastic asshole So if you like sarcastic assholes, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe, share with all your friends. And if you don't like sarcastic assholes, this is not the place for you. Okay? You've been warned. Let's get into it. Introduction. For over 25 years, leaders of Venezuela have abused their positions of public trust and corrupted once legitimate institutions to import tons of cocaine into the United States. Nicolas Maduro Moros, the defendant, is at forefront of that corruption and has partnered with his co-conspirators to use his illegally obtained authority and the institutions he corroded to transport thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Since his early days in Venezuelan government, Maduro Moros has turned every public as held. As a member of Venezuela's National Assembly, Maduro Moros moved boatloads of cocaine under the protection of Venezuelan law enforcement. As Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro Moros provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. Let's read that again. As Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. Sidebar, that's RICO, straight up your ass, Maduro. It's RICO all day long. As Venezuela's president and now de facto ruler, Maduro Moros allows cocaine-fueled corruption to flourish for his own benefit, for the benefit of members of his ruling regime, and for the benefit of his family members. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Jazz King, my king, so good to see you. Last 24 on the mic, hello. You guys got to let me know. Let me know if my audio is not going to hold up. Please let me know. Feel free to throw some fucking red flags in the chat if my audio starts going haywire. It shouldn't. I made sure everything is where it's supposed to be, but we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, everybody is having a wonderful, wonderful day. Okay. Nicolas Maduro Moros, the defendant, now sits atop a corrupt, illegitimate government that for decades has leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking. That drug trafficking has enriched and entrenched Venezuela's political and military elite, including Minister of the Interior, Justice and Peace Diosdado Cabello Rondon, the defendant, and former Minister of the Interior and Justice Ramon Rodriguez Chason, the defendant. That massive scale drug trafficking has also concentrated power and wealth in the hands of Maduro's family, including his wife, the purported First Lady of Venezuela, Celia Adelia Flores de Maduro, the defendant, and Maduro Moro's son, member of the Venezuela's National Assembly, Nicolas Ernesto Maduro Guerra, aka Nicolasito, aka the Prince, also the defendant. So we have Maduro, his wife, his son, and this Minister of the Interior and Justice, Ramon Rodriguez, also defendants, co-conspirators. Co-conspirators. This cycle of narcotics-based corruption lines the pockets of Venezuelan officials and their families while also benefiting violent narco-terrorists who operate with impunity on Venezuelan soil and who help produce, protect, and transport tons of cocaine to the United States. At various times since in or about 1999, Venezuelan officials, including Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado, and Ramon, the defendants, have partnered with narco-terrorists from the Fuerzas Armadas Revoluciones de Colombia, the FARC, and Ejército de Liberación Nacional, ELN, and the Sinaloa cartel, the Zetas, and Tren de Aragua, including Tren de Aragua's leader. So, at various times since in or about 1999, Venezuelan officials, including Maduro, his co defendant, and his other co defendant, have partnered with narco terrorists from FARC, the ELN, the Sinaloa cartel, the Zetas, and the Tren de Araguas, including Tren de Aragua's leader, Hector Rustenford Guerrero Flores, aka Nino Guerrero, other named co-conspirator. In sum, Maduro and his co-conspirators have, for decades, partnered with some of the most violent and prolific drug traffickers and narco-terrorists in the world, and relied on corrupt officials throughout the region to distribute tons of cocaine to the United States. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Good to see you. Jazz King, my darling, my king, thank you so much for your super sticker. I promise I'll go through all of them at the end, right? And I'll give commentary. I'm going to try and make it so that we can go through the indictment with as little of my commentary and bullshit as possible. And then maybe I'll give my commentary and bullshit at the end. Yeah. Hopefully everybody's fine with that. I'm just going to check chat, though, every so often to make sure my audio is holding up. Feel free to throw red flags if audio starts going crazy. Truly appreciate you. Yes, William, we did. Okay. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for being here. Hope you're having an awesome week so far. So, the defendants, Nicolas Maduro Moros, the defendant, a Venezuelan citizen, was previously the president of Venezuela and is now, having remained in power despite losses in his recent elections, the de facto but illegitimate ruler of the country. Sidebar for everybody saying we kidnapped a president of another country. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. He lost the election and then murdered all of the opposition. Okay, he's an illegitimate dictator, a despot who also happens to be the leader of a cartel. Maduro Moros also previously held a seat in Venezuela's National Assembly between in or about 2000 and in or about 2006, acted as the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs between in or about 2006 and in or about 2013, and acted as the Vice President of Venezuela in or about 2013. Maduro Moros succeeded to the Venezuelan presidency after former President Hugo Chavez died in or about 2013. Sidebar, did you know that we fucking blew up Chavez's mausoleum and grave on our way out with Maduro? Like Maduro got to be flown, by night stalkers in their fucking chopper out of the country. And as he's being flown out of the country, he's watching our special operators, just for good measure, bomb Chavez's mausoleum on the way out for extra points. Oh my God. And there's going to be a lot of people who don't like it that I said that, but it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes you just have to, make an example. Sometimes you just have to get your point across, really, without saying a word, right? I thought it was pretty hysterical, though, that they literally bombed the shit out of Chavez's mausoleum on the way out. Trump's like, listen, after you capture that motherfucker, make sure you drop one extra, just one, right over there. All right, enough of my bullshit. So, in or about 2013 is how Vice President, he became the, sorry, acted as vice president of Venezuela in or about 2013, and then succeeded to Venezuela's presidency after Hugo Chavez died in or about 2013. During Maduro Morris's own presidency, he continued to participate in cocaine trafficking with drug dealers and narco-terrorist groups. In or about 2018, Maduro declared victory in a disputed and internationally condemned presidential election in Venezuela. In or about 2019, Venezuela's National Assembly invoked the Venezuelan Constitution and declared that Maduro had usurped power and was not the legitimate president of Venezuela. In or about 2019, Venezuela's National Assembly invoked the Venezuelan Constitution and declared that Maduro had usurped power and was not the legitimate president of Venezuela. Nonetheless, Maduro Moros continued to exercise the powers of the Venezuelan presidency, causing more. Well, hey, psst, oh, my cat's eating the bag of bread. Get out of there. What are you doing? Sorry, guys. I heard plastic rustling. I said, what is that? My cat was trying to get into the bag of bread. Sorry. Where was I? Damn cat. Maduro Moros continued to exercise the powers of the Venezuelan presidency, causing more than 50 countries, including the United States, to refuse to recognize Maduro Moros as Venezuela's head of state. In or about 2024, Venezuela held another presidential election that was again widely criticized by the international community, in which Maduro declared himself the winner despite widespread condemnation. Dio Cabela Rondon, the defendant, a Venezuelan citizen, is the Minister of the Interior, Justice, and Peace, a member of the Venezuelan Armed Forces, and the Vice President of the ruling United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Cabello Rondon, I'm just going to call him Cabello, is widely recognized as one of the most powerful officials in Venezuela. Cabello previously acted as chief of staff to Chavez in or about 2001, vice president of Venezuela in or about 2002, governor of Venezuela's Miranda state between in or about 2004 and in or about 2008, and president of Venezuela's National Assembly between in or about 2012 and in or about 2016. Between in or about 2017 and in or about 2020, you got to love our government and how these lawyers, man, how they write this shit up. In or about, around the time of. How annoying when you have to read it out loud, though, huh? Between in or about 2017 and in or about 2020, Cabello acted as a member and then president of Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly. Following the illegitimate creation of the National Constituent Assembly, which siphoned the constitutional powers of Venezuela's National Assembly and further entrenched Maduro's regime. So Cabello acted as a member and then president of Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly. Following the illegitimate creation of the National Constituent Assembly, which siphoned the constitutional powers of Venezuela's National Assembly and further entrenched Maduro's regime. Following the dissolution of the National Constituent Assembly in or about 2020, Cabello became a member of Venezuela's National Assembly between in or about 2021 and in or about 2024. Ramon Rodriguez, the defendant, is a Venezuelan politician and former member of the armed forces who served as the Minister of the Interior and Justice between in or about 2002 and 2008. Between in or about 2012 and in or about 2017, Rodriguez was the governor of Venezuela's Guarico state. Celia Adelia Flores de Maduro, the defendant, is the de facto First Lady of Venezuela, having married Nicolas Maduro, the defendant, in or about 2013. Flores de Maduro has had a long-standing political career. Flores de Maduro has acted as the president of the National Assembly, starting when Maduro Moros left that role to become Minister of Foreign Affairs. So when he leaves to become Minister of Foreign Affairs, she takes over as president of the National Assembly between in or about 2006 and in or about 2011. Now you know why she's named as a co-defendant. As the Attorney General of Venezuela between in or about 2012 and in or about 2013, and as a member of the National Constituent Assembly starting in or about 2017. Nicolas Ernesto Maduro, aka Nicolasito, the prince, also the defendant, is the son of Nicolas Maduro and a corrupt Venezuelan politician. Maduro, we'll call him, well, because they're both Maduro, we're going to call him Nicolasito. So Nicolasito entered politics after his father, Maduro Moros, became the president of Venezuela in or about 2013. At that time, Maduro Moros appointed Nicolasito to the head of the Corps of Special Inspectors of the Presidency, a position which was specifically created for him. I'm going to keep my commentary myself. In or about 2017, Nicolasito entered Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly, and in or about January 2021, Nicolasito entered Venezuela's National Assembly, where he continues to hold office. Hector Rustenford Guerrero, aka Nino, also the defendant, has for over a decade served as either the leader or co-leader of Tren de Aragua, during which time Tren de Aragua members and associates have engaged in a wide range of crimes, including extortions, kidnappings, murders, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, prostitution, sex trafficking, robberies, bank burglaries, and money laundering in Venezuela, the United States, and elsewhere. So, before we get into the narco terrorist organizations working in partnership with the defendants, let me come over to my chat. How's everybody doing? Don't forget to thumbs it up, thumbs it down, follow your heart, not your frown. Hope everybody's having a great day. Mary Holt, hello, welcome in, welcome in. Hopefully my audio is holding up. New Orleans lady, good morning, beautiful, good morning. You voted for this? Yes, yes, darling, yes. P Fox, where's P Fox? Someone's saying hello to P Fox. Hello, P Fox. I hope you've been wonderful. I hope you had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. I know a lot of us didn't. Can we tip the mods? Yes, Meg has her Cash App somewhere, I'm sure. She can put it in the chat. Absolutely, Jazz King. Feel free to tip your mods, 100%. My mods can always put their Cash Apps in my chat. Absolutely. New Orleans lady, she's got a Cash App. Feel free to drop it. Any of my mods, if you want to drop your Cash App, go for it. Sure, he can't tip all of you, but he'll try. Dana, hello, welcome on in. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful day. Yeah, the cat. Yeah, the cat stole she steals your muffins, Meg. Yeah, dude, my cat will literally try to eat the cookies, even if I have saran wrap over them. She will literally just rip the plastic right off to get to anything. She doesn't care. Sometimes I think she's trying to eat the plastic, but who knows? Yes, please remember to leave your mark. Even if you hate it, right? That's some what you would deem a well, I mean, I don't know. There's probably a lot of lurkers here who would deem me some kind of right-wing fascist schnazi, right? For even reading this, but it is what it is. I'm going to read the whole fucking thing. And then I'm going to snark. And then I'm going to talk shit to Maduro, all of his co-conspirators, all of these pieces of shit who make their money by oppressing their people, starving them, establishing dictatorships, stealing the wealth of the people, while they do business with terrorists and drug dealers and sex traffickers, right? I don't care. For me, it's not political. If you side with drug traffickers, sex traffickers, and cartels, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably at some point going to get face fucked by the United States military. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. Sorry, friends. It's bound to happen. Okay. We're done playing patty cake and beating around bushes. Just saying. All right. So, let's get back into it before my audio goes insane, as it always does. The narco terrorist organizations working in partnership with the defendants. The FARC, since its founding in 1964, has become one of the largest producers of cocaine in the world. The FARC has generated significant revenue through its cocaine trafficking, which it used to fund its operations, including, for example, large scale weapons purchases and terrorist attacks. The FARC has also directed violent acts against United States persons and property in foreign jurisdictions, including but not limited to Colombia. They're next on the list. For example, from at least in or about 2003 to in or about 2008, FARC leadership ordered FARC members to kidnap and murder United States citizens and to attack United States interests in order to dissuade the United States from continuing its efforts to fumigate and disrupt the FARC's manufacturing and distribution of cocaine and cocaine paste. Cocaine paste? Well, that's a new one for me. Holy shit. Cocaine paste. Dear God. Consistent with these activities, in or about 1997, the United States Department of State, also known as the State Department, designated the FARC as a foreign terrorist organization pursuant to Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Let's read that again. The United States Department of State. Wait a minute, I want to go back to cocaine paste, actually. Let's read that one again. For example, from at least in or about 2003 to in or about 2008, FARC leadership ordered FARC members to kidnap and murder United States citizens and to attack United States interests in order to dissuade the United States from continuing its efforts to fumigate and disrupt the FARC's manufacturing and distribution of cocaine and cocaine paste. Consistent with these activities, in or about 1997, the State Department designated the FARC as a foreign terrorist organization pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. So since 1997, they have been a designated terrorist organization, foreign terrorist organization. So this isn't new. On November 30th, 2021, the State Department removed the FARC from the FTO list and simultaneously designated two FARC successor organizations as FTOs pursuant to Section 219 of the INA, the FARC EP and the Segunda Marquetalia, both of which remain so designated as the filing of this superseding indictment. Okay, I see what they did. So the State Department removed the FARC as a whole from the FTO list, but simultaneously designated two FARC successor organizations as foreign terrorist organizations pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. That would be the FARC EP and Segunda, both of which remain so designated as of the filing of this superseding indictment. The ELN has operated as a Colombian terrorist group since 1965, dedicated to the violent overthrow of the democratically elected government in Colombia. In furtherance of its anti-government agenda, the ELN has committed kidnappings, bombings, and other violent attacks targeting civilians and Colombian law enforcement. In addition, the ELN exports tons of cocaine annually to the United States and elsewhere in order to finance its terrorist activities and has, at various times, partnered with other Colombian guerrilla groups in pursuit of its cocaine trafficking and violent agenda. Consistent with these activities, in or about 1997, the State Department designated the ELN as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. ELN remains so designated as of the filing of this superseding indictment. The Sinaloa cartel, based in the Mexican state of Sinaloa, has its roots in the late 1980s, when the so-called Mexican Federation functioned as a council with representatives from the respective drug trafficking organizations of its principal leaders. During the late 1980s and 1990s, the members of the Mexican Federation partnered with Colombian sources to supply and transport drugs through Mexico and into the United States. In the early 2000s, Joaquin Guzman, aka El Chapo, and Ismael Garcia, aka El Mayo, formed a partnership that led to transformation of the Mexican Federation into the Sinaloa cartel, which became the largest drug trafficking organization in the world. At present, the Sinaloa cartel is highly organized and active in more than half of all states in Mexico. Through a sophisticated and heavily armed security apparatus, the Sinaloa cartel wields power through fear, threats, and violence, including by killing police, civilians, and members of other criminal groups who encroach on their territory without authorization. Members of the Sinaloa cartel may also be killed for perceived disloyalty, disobedience, or to send a message. To further and protect its drug interests, the Sinaloa cartel engages in other criminal conduct, including bribery, extortion, and weapons trafficking. As an additional means of revenue and profit, the Sinaloa cartel engages in migrant smuggling and human trafficking. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated the Sinaloa cartel as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. The Sinaloa cartel remains so designated as of the filing of the superseding indictment. The Zetas, later known as the Cartel de Noreste, the CDN, is a violent and prolific transnational drug organization based in northeastern Mexico involved in drug trafficking, kidnapping, extortion, human smuggling, and other illicit activities. The Zetas use violence to exert criminal control, including attacks against government officials in Mexico. Between or about 2000 and in or about 2010, the Zetas formed an alliance with the Gulf Cartel, a group of drug traffickers primarily based in northern Mexico, whereby the Zetas served as the armed militaristic wing of the Gulf Cartel to maintain control of drug trafficking routes throughout Mexico. The Zetas recruited members of the Mexican Special Forces, along with drug traffickers who never served in the military or with the police force, to join the organization. In or about the summer of 2010, the Zetas and Gulf Cartel's alliance fractured after a period of intense violence between the organizations. At that time, the Zetas operated as an independent drug trafficking organization that imported ton quantities of cocaine to the United States. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated CDN, formerly known as the Zetas, as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. CDN, referred to as the Zetas in the superseding indictment, remains so designated as of the filing of the superseding indictment. Check chat real quick. Do I see any red flags? Hello, everyone. Hello. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Looks like, okay, I'm not seeing red flags, which means audio is holding up. Okay, wonderful. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Feel free to throw a red flag, mods especially. Tren de Aragua is a violent transnational criminal organization that originated as a prison gang in Venezuela. Tren de Aragua has expanded its criminal network throughout the Western Hemisphere and established a presence in the United States, including New York. Tren de Aragua's criminal activities include human smuggling and other illicit acts. Tren de Aragua has developed additional revenue sources through a range of other criminal activities, including drug trafficking, firearms trafficking, commercial sex trafficking, kidnapping, robbery, theft, fraud, and extortion. Tren de Aragua members also commit murder, assault, and other acts of violence to enforce and further the organization's criminal activities. Hang on one second. So sorry, my cat is losing her mind, bro. Hang on. Okay, so sorry. Oh my goodness. She's literally upstairs. Sounded like she was trying to dig through one of my walls. I'm not even joking you. Okay, where was I? Tren de Aragua has developed additional revenue sources through a range of other criminal activities, including drug trafficking, firearms trafficking, commercial sex trafficking, kidnapping, robbery, theft, fraud, and extortion. Tren de Aragua members also commit murder, assault, and other acts of violence to enforce and further the organization's criminal activities. Tren de Aragua has formed ties with other criminal groups operating in the Western Hemisphere and at times is willing to collaborate with other criminal groups and organizations on a local and ad hoc basis. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated Tren de Aragua as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. Tren de Aragua, Tren de Aragua remains so designated as of the filing of the superseding indictment. All right. The defendants corrupt drug trafficking and connections to narco terrorist groups. Nicolas Maduro, the defendant, like former President Chavez before him, participates in, perpetuates, and protects a culture of corruption in which powerful Venezuelan elites enrich themselves through drug trafficking and the protection of their partner drug traffickers. The profits of that illegal activity flow to corrupt rank and file civilian, military, and intelligence officials who operate in a patronage system run by those at the top, referred to as the Cartel de los Soles, or Cartel of the Suns, a reference to the sun insignia affixed to the uniforms of high ranking Venezuelan military officials. Oh my God, I am so sorry. The cat was a lit. You probably heard that very loud. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Ro, good morning. Need some Z's. Good morning. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for being here. Glad my audio is holding up. Wonderful. Tommy boy, hello. Okay. All right, let's get back into this. I really wanted to do this as quickly as possible, but the cat is making it impossible. Okay, so we are at the Cartel of the Suns. That Maduro is allegedly the leader of. And apparently, the high ranking Venezuelan military officials have the sun insignia affixed to their uniforms, hence the name Cartel of the Suns. Not Sons, 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 Suns. Venezuela sits in a geographically valuable location for drug traffickers, with northern access to the Caribbean Sea via several large ports and western access to the mountainous regions of Colombia, where cocoa is grown and turned into the vast majority of the world's cocaine supply in jungle laboratories. Starting in or about 1999, Venezuela became a safe haven for drug traffickers willing to pay for protection and support. Corrupt Venezuelan civilian and military officials who operate outside the reach of Colombian law enforcement and armed forces, bolstered by United States anti narcotics assistance. What? Let me read that again. Starting in or about 1999, Venezuela became a safe haven for drug traffickers willing to pay for protection and support. Oh, and support corrupt Venezuelan civilian and military officials who operated outside the reach of Colombian law enforcement and armed forces bolstered by the United States anti narcotics assistance. In that environment, cocaine trafficking flourished. Venezuelan officials and their family members, including Maduro, Diosdado, Ramon, Celia, and Nicolas Ernesto, Nicolasito, all the defendants partnered with narcotics traffickers and narco terrorist groups who dispatched processed cocaine from Venezuela to the United States via transshipment points in the Caribbean and Central America, such as Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. By in or about 2020, the State Department estimated that between 200 and 250 tons of cocaine were trafficked through Venezuela annually. That was in 2020. Holy shit. The maritime shipments were shipped north from Venezuela's coastline using go-fast vessels, fishing boats, and container ships. Oh, like the ones we blow up. Air shipments were often dispatched from clandestine airstrips, typically made of dirt or grass, and also from commercial airports under the control of the corrupt government and military officials. Through this drug trafficking, Nicolas Maduro, the defendant, and corrupt members of his regime enabled corruption fueled by drug trafficking throughout the region. The transshipment points in Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico similarly relied on a culture of corruption, in which cocaine traffickers operating in those countries paid a portion of their own profits to politicians who protected and aided them. In turn, these politicians used the cocaine fueled payments to maintain and augment their political power. So, too, were politicians along the quote, Caribbean route corrupted by cocaine traffickers who would pay them for protection from arrest and to allow favored traffickers to operate with impunity as they traffic cocaine from Venezuela north to the United States. Thus, at every step, relying on the producers in Colombia, transporters and distributors in Venezuela, and redistributors on transshipment points north, the traffickers enriched themselves and their corrupt benefactors who protected and aided them. Similarly, Nicolas Maduro Moros, Diosdado, and Ramon, the defendants, and other corrupt members of the regime, facilitated the empowerment and growth of violent narco-terrorist groups, fueling their organizations with cocaine profits. These narco-terrorist organizations not only worked directly with and sent profits to high-ranking Venezuelan officials, but also reaped the benefits of the increased value of that cocaine at each transshipment point along the way to the United States, where demand and thus the price of cocaine is highest. Those organizations include the FARC and ELN, which control cocaine in the mountainous regions of Colombia, the Sinaloa cartel and Zetas, which control routes in Central America, and the methods for crossing cocaine from Mexico into the United States, and Tren de Aragua, which controls a criminal network able to assist with the transportation of cocaine within Venezuela and on the Venezuelan coast. Holy shit. Overt acts in furtherance of the defendants' drug trafficking and narco-terrorism conspiracies. Overt acts in furtherance. Overt, not covert. These are overt acts in furtherance of the defendants' drug trafficking and narco-terrorism conspiracies. The defendants, together and with others, engaged in a relentless campaign of cocaine trafficking throughout the time period charged in this superseding indictment, resulting in the distribution of thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Throughout, Nicolas Maduro, the defendant, along with members of his family and other corrupt officials, provided law enforcement cover and logistical support for the transport of cocaine through Venezuela, with knowledge that their drug trafficking partners would move the cocaine north to the United States. While this conduct occurred regularly and repeatedly throughout the time period charged, below are certain examples of acts engaged in by the defendants in furtherance of their drug trafficking, including in partnership with narco-terrorist groups. Between 2006 and 2008, while acting as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro sold Venezuelan diplomatic passports to individuals that Maduro knew were drug traffickers in order to assist traffickers seeking to move drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela under diplomatic power. When the drug traffickers needed to move drug proceeds from Mexico back to Venezuela, Maduro facilitated the movement of private planes under diplomatic cover to ensure the flights received no scrutiny from law enforcement or the military. On these occasions, Maduro called the Venezuelan embassy in Mexico to advise that a diplomatic mission would be arriving by private plane. Then, while the traffickers met with the Venezuelan ambassador to Mexico under the auspice of a diplomatic mission from Maduro, their plane was loaded with the drug proceeds. The plane would then return to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. Holy shit. In approximately 2007, Celia Flores, the defendant, attending a meeting in which Flores accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to broker a meeting between a large scale drug trafficker and the director of Venezuela's National Anti Drug Office, Nestor River, I can't say his middle name, Nestor Torres. The drug trafficker later arranged to pay a monthly bribe to Torres, in addition to approximately $100,000 for each flight that was transporting cocaine to ensure the flight's safe passage, a portion of which was then paid to Flores. Wow. So the drug trafficker later arranged to pay a monthly bribe to Maduro's wife, in addition to approximately $100,000 for each flight that was transporting cocaine that she could provide safe passage to. That money was paid to her. Interesting. In or about two, allegedly. This is all alleged, friends, right? Every person accused of a crime is innocent until proven guilty. I hope we all remember that. Hold, please. Okay, sorry about that. My daughter had to ask me a question. All right. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Annie Ruler. Hello. Anybody else? I'm just trying to look at chat real quick before I go back to reading. Appreciate everybody being here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Suzanne B., hello to you. Hope you're having a great day. All right. So let's see. Where was I? Oh, that's right. Safe passage. Maduro's wife providing safe passage to drug traffickers, allegedly. In or about 2015, Torres was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. Oh, no shit. So they're going to catch him next. So Torres is on the list. Wonder what his reward is right now for his capture and where he's hiding out. So Torres is a fugitive right now, but he has charges in the Eastern District of New York. Interesting. Between in or about 2003 and in or about 2011, while Diosdado, the defendant, occupied various official positions in Venezuela, the Zetas worked with a group of Colombian drug traffickers to dispatch cargo containers on container ships carrying 5 to 6 tons of cocaine each, and sometimes as much as 20 tons each, from ports in Venezuela to ports in Mexico, and then ultimately to the United States. The tens of thousands of kilograms of cocaine sent by this group were protected in Venezuela by Venezuelan military officials, referred to as, quote, the generals, end. Between 2004 and 2015, Maduro and Flores worked together to traffic cocaine, much of which had been previously seized by Venezuelan law enforcement with the assistance of armed military escorts. During this time, Maduro and Flores maintained their own groups of state sponsored gangs known as colectivos to facilitate and protect their drug trafficking operation. Maduro and Flores also ordered kidnappings, beatings, and murders against those who owed them drug money or otherwise undermined their drug trafficking operation, including ordering the murder of a local drug boss in Caracas. Interesting. In or about 2006, Venezuelan officials dispatched more than 5.5 tons of cocaine from Venezuela to Mexico on a DC 9 jet. Cabello, then director of Venezuela's military intelligence agency, Hugo Barrios, aka El Pollo, who in June 2025 pled guilty in this district to the narco-terrorism, narcotics, and weapons offenses in the first superseding indictment in this case, and Venezuelan National Guard Captain Vasily Kotowski Ramirez worked with other members of the Venezuelan regime to coordinate the shipment. The more than 5.5 tons of cocaine were transported in approximately 5 vans to the hangar reserved for the Venezuelan president at the Simon Bolivar International Airport in Venezuela. At the airport, members of the Venezuelan National Guard loaded the cocaine onto the plane, which took off using a flight plan that Ramirez approved in exchange for bribes. Despite the payment of those bribes, when the plane landed at the Del Carmen Airport in Mexico, Mexican authorities seized more than 5.5 tons of cocaine. Shortly after the seizure, Ramirez told the Venezuelan drug traffickers who worked with him that they needed to pay Cabello a bribe to ensure that those who had assisted them at the airport would not be arrested. Ramirez then arranged a meeting with Cabello, after which the traffickers paid approximately $2.5 million to Cabello through his family member. In or about 2013, Ramirez was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. Holy shit. Between approximately 2006 and 2008, Hector Rustenford Guerrero Flores, aka Nino, another co-conspirator in this case, worked with one of the largest drug traffickers in Venezuela, Walid Macled. Interesting. Members of the Venezuelan regime helped protect Macled's cocaine shipments that were transported from San Fernando, Venezuela to Valencia, Venezuela, and were then sent by plane from the Valencia International Airport to Mexico and other locations in Central America for eventual distribution to the United States. Between 2008 and 2009, Guerrero Flores also provided another major Venezuelan drug trafficker with protection for cocaine shipments moving through Venezuela, including by providing armed men who carried, among automatic weapons, AK-47s, MP5s, and AR-15s, as well as grenades. What the fuck? I'm not even allowed to own most of those, by the way. It's not fair. It's not fair that the cartels get to have AK-47s, MP5s, and grenades, but I can't. Really? That seems very unfair. I'm just saying it seems very unfair. At times, Guerrero Flores personally accompanied large cocaine loads as they were guarded by the teams of armed men en route to airports or airstrips for transport north and eventual distribution to the United States. Guerrero Flores was paid a fee per kilogram of cocaine transported or received, and he sometimes received an interest in portions of these massive cocaine shipments in lieu of payment. Oh, so he liked to do it himself too, huh? He's like, actually, instead of paying me cash, can you just slide me a kilo? Actually, can I just have a couple of those kilos off the back of the truck, and you don't even have to give me any cash? That's what it sounds like. Sounds like maybe he had a nose candy problem, maybe a little bit. That's what it sounds like. Guerrero Flores was paid a fee per kilogram of cocaine transported or received, and he sometimes received an interest in portions of these massive cocaine shipments in lieu of payment. The traffickers that Guerrero Flores worked with moved thousands of kilograms per shipment, multiple times per month, resulting in the distribution of hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States. In or about 2009, Macled was charged with narcotics offenses in this district and is a fugitive. In or about 2008, Ramon, the defendant, maintained a large estate in Barinas State, Venezuela, which contained a large FARC encampment and training school with approximately 200 armed FARC members carrying automatic rifles at any given time. During this time, Rodriguez accepted tens of thousands of dollars in bribes to use his corrupt influence to shield a large-scale drug trafficker from arrest and extradition. During subsequent meetings with the drug trafficker between about 2008 and 2010, Rodriguez discussed trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine with other Venezuelan officials, including Carvajal Barrios. In or about 2011, the Sinaloa cartel's then leader, Joaquin Guzman, aka El Chapo, financed cocaine laboratories in Colombia. Cocaine produced in those laboratories was then transported under the protection of the FARC into Venezuela and received protection en route to an airstrip from Carvajal Barrios, a close ally of Maduro and Cabello. In or about September 2013, mere months after Maduro succeeded to the Venezuelan presidency, Venezuelan officials dispatched approximately 1.3 tons of cocaine on a commercial flight from the airport to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. French authorities seized the cocaine. This is after Maduro is now the president. Venezuelan officials dispatched 1.3 tons of cocaine on a commercial flight, not a private, a commercial flight from the Paris airport. French authorities seized the cocaine. Following the seizure, Maduro convened a meeting with, among others, Cabello, and the Carvajal Barrios. During the meeting, Maduro told Cabello and the Barrios that they should not have used the Macatilla airport for drug trafficking after the 2006 seizure in Mexico, and that they should instead use other well-established drug routes and locations to dispatch the cocaine. So Maduro's advising them on which routes are best used to dispatch the cocaine while he's president. Allegedly. Shortly thereafter, Maduro and others authorized the arrests of certain Venezuelan military officials in an effort to divert public and law enforcement scrutiny away from Maduro, Cabello, and the Carvajal Barrios' participation in the shipment and its cover-up. So Maduro and others authorized the arrests of certain Venezuelan military officials in an effort to divert public and law enforcement scrutiny away from themselves. See, we're not doing nothing wrong. See, we arrested bad guys. My God. Between approximately 2014 and 2015, a captain in the Venezuelan National Guard on Margarita Island, Venezuela, coordinated hotels, transportation, women, and food for visits by Venezuelan officials, including Nicolas Ernesto Maduro Lacito, the defendant, who visited Margarita Island approximately twice monthly. Maduro Guerra would arrive on a Falcon 900 plane owned by Venezuela's state oil company, Petróleos de Venezuela. Before leaving the island, Maduro Guerra's plane would be loaded, sometimes with the assistance of armed sergeants, with large packages wrapped in tape that the captain understood were drugs. Maduro Guerra was present while the plane was loaded, and on one occasion stated that the plane could go wherever it wanted, including the United States. They fafoed too close to the sun, friends. They fafoed too close to the sun. Between in or about October 2015 and in or about November 2015, Efrain Campo Flores and Frankie Francisco Flores de Freitas, say that 5 fucking times fast, huh? Two relatives of Maduro and Flores de Maduro, agreed during recorded meetings with DEA confidential sources to dispatch multi-hundred kilogram cocaine shipments from Maduro Moros's presidential hangar at the airport. Let's read that again. Between 2015 and October 2015 and November 2015, Efrain Campo Flores and Frankie Francisco Flores de Freitas, two relatives of Maduro, and Flores de Maduro, agreed during recorded meetings with DEA confidential sources to dispatch multi-hundred kilogram cocaine shipments from Maduro's own, quote, presidential hangar, end quote, at the airport. During these recorded meetings with the sources, Campo Flores and Flores Ditas explained that they were, quote, at war with the United States, described the Cartel de los Soles, and discussed a connection to, quote, a commander for the FARC who was, quote, supposedly high ranked, end quote, and indicted that they were seeking to raise $20 million in drug proceeds to support a campaign by Flores de Maduro in connection with the late 2015 election for the Venezuelan National Assembly. Campo Flores referred to Maduro as his father and stated that, quote, what we want is for him to take control again of the National Assembly, end quote. In or about November 2016, Campo Flores and Flores de Freitas were convicted at a trial in this district of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States. So they've already been charged. So you understand, like, sidebar, let me come to chat. You understand how many of Maduro's buddies they already have in custody, right? Everybody understanding that? Does everybody understand how many of his co-conspirators and the people who helped him during his presidency? We've already captured them. We've already charged them. We've already indicted them. They've already been convicted and they're sitting in our jails. These are all the people who are going to testify against him. You guys get that, right? I hope everybody sees the what's happening here. You understand that many of these people, we already captured them. We already indicted them. Some of them are still on the run and they're fugitives. We're getting them next. But all of these people are going to be forced, whether they like it or not, to testify because they've already been charged and convicted. So think about everything gained from their cases and their convictions that's going to be used here. Know what I mean? Pretty wild. In about 2017, Maduro Guerra worked to ship hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Venezuela to Miami, Florida. During this time, Maduro Guerra spoke with his drug trafficking partners about, amongst other things, shipping low-quality cocaine to New York because it could not be sold in Miami, arranging a 500-kilogram shipment of cocaine to be unloaded from a cargo container near Miami, and using scrap metal containers to smuggle the cocaine into the ports of New York. Guess what? The people in Miami, they didn't want that cheap-ass bunk ass cocaine. They wanted that straight Bolivia shit, right? The Wu-Tang type cocaine. So what this guy had to do here was say, hey, you know what? Fuck it. It's a bad batch. Let's send it to New York. New Yorkers are crying in the streets right now because we captured Maduro. Maduro and his regime sent New York their shitty cocaine. You should be offended by that, New Yorkers. In or about 2018 and 2019, Rodriguez made multiple trips from Barinas State to Caracas with a key FARC leader for meetings with Maduro. These trips were part of a long history of Rodriguez regular meetings with FARC and ELN members in both their jungle encampments and Barinas, because Rodriguez was assigned by Maduro to provide the FARC and ELN with protection and support. Rodriguez also brought FARC leaders to meet Maduro at Miraflores, the presidential palace in Caracas, as well as the Fuerte Tiuna the chief military complex in Caracas and headquarters of Venezuela's Ministry of Defense. So he brought this guy to the presidential palace and brought them to the chief military complex in Caracas, which is the headquarters of the Venezuela's Ministry of Defense. In or about July 2019, shortly after certain FARC leaders had publicly returned to arms despite the signing of recent peace accords with the Colombian government, Maduro and Cabello attended a videotaped press conference at which Maduro announced that the FARC and its leaders were welcome in Venezuela. In or about 2019, Tren de Aragua's leader, Guillermo Flores, discussed drug trafficking with an individual he understood to be working with the Venezuelan regime. Over multiple calls, Guillermo Flores offered to provide escort services for drug loads, explaining that Guillermo Flores and Tren de Aragua had control of the coastlines of Venezuela's Aragua state. Guillermo Flores, speaking from Tren de Aragua's base of operations in the Tocaron prison. Yeah, Tocaron prison. Is that how they Tocaron? I'm just going to say it like the gringa I am. Tocaron prison. Explained that Tren de Aragua could handle the logistics of every aspect of the drug trade, including the use of storage compartments that Guillermo Flores called, quote, cradles, located on a beach in Aragua state. In doing so, Guillermo Flores confirmed that Tren de Aragua's ability to protect over 1 ton of cocaine. In or about 2020, Maduro attended a meeting in Medellin, Colombia, with 2 representatives of the FARC. During the meeting, Maduro discussed arrangements to move large quantities of cocaine and weapons through Colombia into the United States over the course of the 6 years, until about March 2026. Maduro also discussed paying the FARC with weapons in connection with the cocaine loads. In or about 2007, at the direction of the Carvajal Barrios, Venezuelan General Claivar Cordones delivered to FARC leadership 4 crates of weapons from the Venezuelan government, which included 20 grenades and 2 grenade launchers. Motherfuckers. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. I want grenades and I want grenade launchers. And it's not because I'm a damn domestic terrorist or a cartel member. It's just because I believe that I should be allowed to have the same types of armament that my government has, should my government ever become tyrannical, like fucking Maduro here, and I need to defend myself. Just saying. Just saying. I'm just saying. I know it's a fantasy that I live in, but I'm just saying. Meanwhile, they get grenades and grenade launchers. Not fair. In or about June 2023, Cordones pled guilty in this district to conspiring to provide material support to the FARC and a foreign terrorist organization pursuant to the 3rd superseding information in this case. I mean, does anybody else feel like it's not fair? Does anybody else feel like it's not fair? That all of these assholes and these terrorists and these fucking drug traffickers and all of these people, well, you know what? They get to have AK-47s and RPGs and, what the fuck? I want them too. And I don't plan to use them offensively. It's not my mission to use them offensively or sell them. I just want them just in case the cartel tried to get stupid here. Shouldn't I have the same RPG those motherfuckers have? So I could defend myself? Just saying. Just saying. Shouldn't I have the same automatic weapons that the cartels on our city streets have? So I could defend myself, should they decide to pop off and get stupid? Just saying. It's not fair. It's just not fair in my opinion. Why be so nosy? Hello, good morning to you. I just want the damn grenade launchers, okay? And grenades and AK-47s. I want automatic weapons as well. I do. Just to add to my collection. What the fuck? Make it happen, Orange Man. All right. Between in or about 2022 and in or about 2024, Cabello regularly traveled to clandestine airstrips controlled by the ELN near the Colombia-Venezuela border to ensure the cocaine's continued safe passage in Venezuelan territory. From these airstrips, cocaine was dispatched out of Venezuela both on flights approved by Venezuelan military officials and on clandestine flights designed to avoid detection by law enforcement or militaries in South and Central America. In or about the end of 2024, Cabello received narcotics proceeds from cocaine trafficking, and in or about 2025, Colombian drug traffickers discussed with an associate of Cabello plans for continued cocaine trafficking through Venezuela. Then we have the statutory allegations, count 1, narco-terrorism conspiracy. Paragraphs 1 through 21 of the superseding indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by reference as though fully set forth herein. From at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2025, in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the United States, Nicolas Maduro Moros, Diosdado Cabela Rondon, and Ramon Rodriguez Chacon are the defendants, known and unknown, at least one of whom has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York, intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate Title 21 U.S. Code Section 960A. Okay, so for anybody who's confused about, what did my narco-terrorist dictator do that you had to arrest him? What did he do? What did my narco-terrorist dictator do? Why did you arrest the dictator? Well, here's why. Because they violated Title 21 of United States Code, Section 960A. That's why. Oh, maybe that's why. Just saying. Okay. Maybe that's why. They're all charged. Maybe that's why he and his wife had to be arrested, and they're all charged here, right? Keep your hands off my narco-terrorists. It was a part and an object of the conspiracy that Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado, and Ramon, the defendants, and others known and unknown, would and did engage in conduct that would be punishable under Title 21, U.S. Code Section 841A, if committed within the jurisdiction of the United States, to wit, the distribution of and possession with the intent to distribute 5 kilograms or more of mixtures and substances containing a detectable amount of cocaine, knowing and intending to provide, directly and indirectly, something of pecuniary value to a person and organization that is engaged and engages in terrorism and terrorist activity, as defined in Title 8, United States Code Section 1182A2B, or terrorism, as defined in Title 22, U.S. Code Section 265, 6FD2. To wit, the following organizations that have been designated by the United States Secretary of State as foreign terrorist organizations pursuant to Section 219 of the INA during times relevant to this superseding indictment: FARC, FARC-EP, Segunda Marquetalia, ELN, Tren de Aragua, the Sinaloa Cartel, CDN, also known as the Zetas, and each organization's members, operatives, and associates, having knowledge that such organizations and persons have engaged and engage in terrorist activity and terrorism in violation of Title 21, U.S. Code Section 960A. Title 21, U.S. Code Section 960A, and Title 18, U.S. Code Section 3238. Count 2, cocaine importation conspiracy. The grand jury further charges. Paragraphs 1 through 21 of this superseding indictment are realleged and incorporated by reference as though fully set forth herein. from at least 1999 up to and including in or about 2025 in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the United States, all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, at least one of whom has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York, intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate provisions of Title 21 U.S. Code, Chapter 13, Subchapter 2. Why did you arrest my narco-terrorist dictator? Well, Title 21 U.S. Code, Chapter 13, Subchapter 2. It was a part and object of the conspiracy that all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, would and did knowingly and intentionally import into the United States from a place outside thereof a controlled substance in violation of Title 21 U.S. Code Sections 952A and 960A1. It was further a part and object of the conspiracy that all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, would and did manufacture, distribute, and possess with intent to distribute a controlled substance, intending, knowing, and having reasonable cause to believe that such substance would be unlawfully imported into the United States and into waters within a distance of 12 miles of the coast of the United States in violation of Title 21 U.S. Code Section 959A and 960A3. It was further a part and an object of the conspiracy that all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, would and did on board an aircraft registered in the United States manufacture, distribute, and possess with intent to distribute a controlled substance in violation of Title 21 U.S. Code Section 959C and 960A3. The controlled substance that all of these people, the defendants, conspired to import into the United States and into the customs territory of the United States from a place outside thereof, manufacture and distribute, intending, knowing, and having a reasonable cause to believe that such substance would be unlawfully imported into the United States and into waters within a distance of 12 miles of the coast of the United States from a place outside thereof, and manufacture, distribute, and possess on board an aircraft registered in the United States was 5 kilograms and more of mixtures and substances containing a detectable amount of cocaine in violation of Title 21 U.S. Code Section 960B1B. Title 21 U.S. Code Section 963 and Title 18 U.S. Code Section 3238. Count 3. Possession of machine guns and destructive devices. Yeah, like the ones I'm not allowed to own. Government. The grand jury further charges paragraphs 1 through 21 of this superseding indictment are realleged and incorporated by reference as though fully set forth herein. From at least in or about 1999 and including in or about 2025, in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the United States, and for which at least one of 2 or more joint offenders has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York, all of these people, the defendants, during and in relation to a drug trafficking crime for which they may be prosecuted in a court of the United States, to wit, for Maduro, Moros, Cabello, and Rodriguez, the controlled substance offenses charged in counts 1 and 2 of this superseding indictment, and for Flores de Maduro, Maduro Guerra, and Guerra Flores, the controlled substance offense charged in count 2 of this superseding indictment, knowingly used and carried firearms, and in furtherance of such crimes, knowingly possessed firearms, and aided and abetted the use, carrying, and possession of firearms, to wit, machine guns, that were capable of automatically shooting more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger, as well as destructive devices. Title 18 USC 924C1A, 924C1B, 3238, and 2. Count 4. Conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. From at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2025, in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the United States, all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, at least one of whom has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York, intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate Title 18 U.S. Code Section 924C. It was a part and an object of the conspiracy that all of these people, the defendants, and others known and unknown, during and in relation to a drug trafficking crime for which they may be prosecuted in a court of the United States, to wit, Maduro and Rodriguez, the controlled substance offenses charged in counts 1 and 2 of this superseding indictment, and for Flores and Guido Flores, the controlled substance offense charged in count 2 of this superseding indictment, knowingly used and carried firearms, and, in furtherance of such crimes, knowingly possessed firearms and aided and abetted the use, carrying, and possession of firearms, to wit, machine guns that were capable of automatically shooting more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger, as well as destructive devices in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code 924C1A, 924C1B, and Title 18 U.S. Code Section 9240 and 3238. Forfeiture allegations. As a result of committing the controlled substance offense charged in count 1 of the superseding indictment, Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, and Ramon Rodriguez, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to Title 21, U.S. Code Section 853 and 970, any and all property constituting or derived from any proceeds the defendants obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offenses, and any and all property used or intended to be used in any manner or part to commit and facilitate the commission of the offense charged in count 1 of the superseding indictment. As a result of committing the controlled substance offense charged in count 2 of the superseding indictment, all of these people, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 21, U.S. Code Section 853 and 970, any and all property constituting or derived from any proceeds the defendants obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offenses, and any and all property used or intended to be used in any manner or part to commit and to facilitate the commission of the offense charged in count 2 of this superseding indictment. As a result of committing the firearms offense charged in counts 3 and 4 of this superseding indictment, all of these people, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 U.S. Code Section 924D all firearms and ammunition involved in and used in the commission of the offense charged in counts 3 and 4 of the superseding indictment. Let us buy them, sir. Take their machine guns and ammunition and let us buy them legally. In case they try attacking us, we need to defend ourselves. I want the machine guns. So we're going to take all their money, all their houses, all their cars, all of their any storage unit full of money, any bank account full of money, all their guns, all their ammo, every single thing that they have in their possession that they've obtained via their narco terrorism and illegal activities. We are taking it all. Interesting. Substitute assets provision. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any action or omission of these people the defendants, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States, pursuant to Title 21 U.S. Code Section 853P and Title 28 U.S. Code Section 2461C, to seek forfeiture of any other property of the defendant up to the value of the above forfeitable property. And it was signed by J. Clayton, United States Attorney. Well, holy guacamole. Let's see. My goodness gracious. Well, it looks like these Maduro and all of his little friends, they're getting all their guns taken, they're getting all their drugs taken. The people of Venezuela are cheering in the streets that this fucking dictator has finally been deposed, right? And all of his little crackpot friends that we've already picked up and charged and are sitting in our prisons already, well, they get to testify against him at his trial, too. It's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Inside your bones, hello. Okay. So we got to cover the indictment of Maduro. I just wanted to do a quick read through of this because I think it's important to at least read the indictment. And, everybody should read the indictment, right? And, I think once you read the indictment, for me, it's not political. This is super easy to understand, right? He refused to leave. He murdered his opposition. He lost the election. He held the country hostage. He held the people hostage. Um, we happened to indict him, and it just so happens to be that the fugitive that we were hunting, who we had a $50 million bounty for, he also happened to be the de facto dictator of Venezuela. So it's like killing two birds with one stone. We picked up our fugitive. We also got rid of their de facto dictator, who has no problem stealing from his people, starving them, and funding terrorists. So, the Venezuelan people are cheering. I don't know why Americans are fucking crying, but, we live in opposite land, and here we are. So I hope everybody enjoyed the read through. If you're replay crew, feel free to leave, comments if you're replay crew. Mods, thank you for being here. Every single one of you who sent a little Jazz King, my darling, thank you so much for your super sticker. I truly appreciate you. Any of my mods, if Jazz King also sent you a little Cash App as a thank you for modding, make sure you say thank you. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'm out of here. We'll be back later and we're going to go start reading through a lot of these unsealed documents that I still want to get to in the Koberger case that were accidentally unsealed. So, catch this on the replay. You can put it at 1.5 speed if you need to. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down, follow your heart, not your frown, and go have an awesome day. Bye, friends.